Everyone knows that Gumball is one of the most chaotic characters in any cartoon, but not everyone knows how deep his story goes. And in this video, I'm gonna explain everything, from his childhood to how he meets Darwin, and how his mischief could have contributed to the end of the world. But let's start all the way in the beginning. One thing we all know about Gumball as a baby is that he was not the best looking newborn. In the treasure, we see that his head resembles a misshapen potato. Despite this, we know that his parents, Nicole and Richard, loved him very much. They were both new, irresponsible parents, with Nicole being the strict parent while working a lot to pay the bills. Meanwhile, Richard mostly raised Gumball, which explains a lot, because in the choices, we see the origin of the Wattersons' iconic house in a broken down state before they moved in to fix it up as new as a family. We see in the same flashback that Gumball takes his first steps and is measured standing against the wall, looking noticeably less misshapen as he's gotten older. Even though we don't know much about Gumball as a baby, one thing we do know about Gumball's early childhood is that before he met Darwin, he probably didn't have many friends, due to his bad behavior and eventual attachment to Darwin. In the origins, we see Gumball acting like an absolute psychopath around the house, which possibly caused him to be an outcast at school. His parents decide to get him his own pet fish to see if he'll calm down, and possibly to give him a sense of companionship. This doesn't last for long, however, as shortly after naming his friend Darwin, the fish dies and Richard and Nicole scramble to get him a replacement before Gumball notices and goes back to his bad behavior. This happens so many times that after replacing the fish, the last two jump out of the tank to avoid their likely fate.
What? What do you mean? I need a fish now! I'm afraid the last two jumped out of the tank when they saw you coming.
Gumball receives his final fish from Richard, who bought it from the shady van we all know as the Awesome Store, where nothing the Wattersons buy from there end up normal at all. Gumball notices that the fish is incredibly smart, more so than the other fish that are now in the sewers. The two realize that they have a deep connection in the heart, and then Gumball realizes that Darwin can actually talk. The two formulate a plan to prank Richard by surprising them with Darwin's new ability to speak like the rest of them. Darwin decides to play dead, and Richard, assuming Darwin just died like all the other Darwins before him, decides it's time to flush him down the drain. Gumball stops him from doing this before it's too late, and Nicole decides to take a family picture, but Darwin surprises them by saying cheese. This obviously scares Richard, causing Darwin to pretty much flush himself down the toilet this time. Unlike the other fish, he's alive. Despite this, Gumball and Darwin's bond was so strong that Gumball knew he would return one day, and he was right. After Darwin got flushed down the toilet, he ends up back in the ocean where he starts his journey to reunite with Gumball. He treks through the desert, through the cold mountains, swamps, and even getting caught by pet control, before escaping and eventually making his way all the way back to Elmore. He searches across town, asks several civilians if he knows where his family is, until he finds the Wattersons' car, which he follows all the way to the pet store. At the same time, Gumball has mostly given up on Darwin ever returning. Him and his parents decide it's best to get a new fish, but before Gumball gets his new replacement, he senses Darwin's presence, and the two reunite again as best friends. This goes to show just how important the two are to each other, and for the rest of Gumball's life, Darwin will always be by his side. As Gumball and Darwin grow up together, they both guide each other, with Gumball usually being the one causing chaos but getting things done, while Darwin is usually the moral compass of the group, making sure that they stay out of trouble. But he's also quite naive and makes some silly mistakes. In the first episode, the DVD, Gumball and Darwin are supposed to return a rented DVD, Alligators on a Train, back to Laser Video. When Gumball tries to find the DVD, he sees Darwin using it to cut pizza. Gumball then tries to clean it off, but of course he uses the rough side of the sponge, pretty much destroying the movie before dropping it down the garbage disposal, which grinds it to shreds. The boys first try to trick Larry with a cardboard cutout of the DVD, which doesn't work. And while Darwin tries to tell Gumball to take the consequences, Gumball decides that they need to beg for money on the street, all while Larry sends them letter after letter asking for them to return the DVD, which is racking up a large late fee over time. The two eventually try to get a job at a cosmetic company while testing makeup before getting fired due to Gumball having an allergic reaction. Upon returning home, Gumball and Darwin try to hide the letter letters from their mom, who becomes suspicious of them and decides to give them a call before deciding to come home and find out what they've gotten themselves into. Nicole finds out about the letters and chases Gumball and Darwin down, but ends up getting hurt. Gumball and Darwin's adventures didn't just start with the amazing world of Gumball though. In fact, before we had the Gumball that everyone knows and loves, Gumball actually looked like this. See, before the amazing world of Gumball production began, Ben Boclet, in collaboration with Sylvie and Mark, the storyboard artist and the one to thank for the show's widely varied art style, worked together to make the original test pilot. In it, we see that several different characters had much different designs from the final show, with Gumball having the most different design from the final. In the pilot, Gumball is seen wearing an orange coat and blue jeans, with a much sharper shaped head than his final design. In the short test animation, we see Gumball and Darwin attempt to escape from school by making a long drawn out plan, which ends with them being catapulted over the school's fence. Their plan fails, however, with them being crushed under Hector's giant butt. This episode may have not been canon, however, it cements Gumball and Darwin's controlled chaos throughout the very start. While Darwin is the closest to Gumball and his family, he also has a great bond with the rest of them too. Gumball's sister Anais, while not as close to him, has been the smartest in the family, usually the voice of reason in most situations, being more responsible than both of her much older brothers, as well as her father, who accidentally made her middle name because he couldn't think of one fast enough.
And does she have a middle name? It's too late.
Anais wasn't always the sweet and smart little sister though. In The Rival, Gumball meets Anais for the first time. Before she is born, Gumball and Darwin are excited of having a brand new sibling to play with. Once they make their way home with Anais though, Gumball realizes that his sister is not as innocent as she seems, as she turns demonic and throws them out of the car into wet concrete. When the two return home and try their best to figure out why Anais could have done that, Darwin proposes that she may just be scared of them. They make their way upstairs and they try to show her that they are friendly when she draws a depiction of the two as skeletons under the ground. They decide to try to play a game with her to ease the tension and decide on hide and seek, which ends with Gumball and Darwin nearly being demolished by a freight truck on the freeway. As if that wasn't enough, upon returning home, they notice that Anais had framed one of them writing, "No one loves you," from Gumball and Darwin, in her playpen that she had torn apart. Gumball notices that the handwriting is way too good, so no one would actually believe that it was written by her. So she makes it look worse and starts crying, which causes Gumball and Darwin to get into trouble. Nicole and Richard think that the boys may be jealous and tell them that they always love them, even though they may not be the babies of the house anymore. Anais sees this and decides to declare war on Gumball and Darwin. Later, the two try to play peekaboo with her. She disappears with a makeshift bomb in her place that explodes in their faces. On top of this, Anais plays several cruel pranks on Gumball and Darwin, including trapping Darwin in his fish tank with an anvil and a stack of bricks, nearly cooking Gumball alive with his own bath, almost exploding Darwin in a car, and giving the boys an incredibly dangerous amount of sugar before tricking them with a paper bag for Gumball to hyperventilate into, which of course is full of bees that ambush Gumball. Gumball and Darwin realize that they need to take this problem into their own hands by trapping Anais in a cardboard box and putting her in the middle of the street to scare her into being nicer. This spectacularly backfires when the garbage truck comes and picks up the box with Anais in it, meaning that she could potentially be crushed or taken to the dump. The two follow the truck to the dump, and Gumball chases the box down several conveyor belts, nearly getting sliced in half before realizing Anais isn't in it. She sneaks up behind them and nearly kills them before they're overcome with joy and hug their sister, who finally decides to stop trying to brutally murder them, but still blames the incident on Gumball so that he gets in trouble. Even though he's had a weird past with his brother and sister, in his younger years, those were Gumball's closest friends. Once he started going to Elmore Junior High with his brother Darwin though, the two made very many friends with the kids in their class, which led Gumball to getting into even more trouble. Like when Gumball and Darwin nearly kill their friend Banana Joe. In The Banana Joe borrows Darwin's pen, which he returns all chewed up. Gumball notices this this, and for whatever reason, he gets even more upset than Darwin, whether it's because he's sticking up for his brother or just because. Gumball tries to exact justice on Banana Joe by puncturing glue lent to Banana Joe. He innocently tries to make the brothers a friendship letter, but ends up accidentally ripping Darwin's homework, as well as tearing off his own eye, as well as his mouth. This should really be considered attempted murder, which wouldn't be the first time Gumball has indirectly caused chaos like this. In the Colossus, Gumball becomes friends with Hector the Giant. He goes over to his house with Darwin, and when Hector tries to prove to them that he's not as boring as they think he is, Hector shows them comics, which have the violent part censored out, his hibernating hamster, which is actually just dead, and he even tells them a joke, which isn't even a joke at all.
Why did the chicken cross the road? For a perfectly legitimate reason.
Dude, that's not a joke, that's a sentence.
Hector is lulled to sleep by a music box, and shortly after, Gumball finds a book of rules for Hector, including that he must not laugh, sneeze, or get excited. Gumball believes that his mom is abusing her power over Hector, and tells Hector that his mom has unfair rules, which makes him boring, and Hector goes home and argues with her before storming out of the cave and going on a rampage of destruction across Elmore, which Gumball, Darwin, and Hector's mom then have to go stop by putting him to sleep. To think that countless lives and damages would have been stopped if Gumball just minded his own business. Even though Gumball is known to cause chaos and destruction nearly anywhere he goes, he's still got a soft spot for his girlfriend, Penny. Penny Fitzgerald is a shape-shifting fairy who spent most of her life inside of her shell. Pretty much the first time we even see Penny, Gumball tries to marry her because he thinks the world is gonna end. Even though Penny loves Gumball, firstly, she doesn't believe the world will end, but she also says that they're too young to marry.
Firstly, I'm 12, and so are you. Secondly, you didn't even propose to me. You're just trying to marry me in the school corridor.
Hey, guys.
At one point, Penny's dad, Patrick, tries to stop the two from seeing each other for a school project. Gumball tries his hardest to prove that he's a good fit for his daughter after his whole family massively embarrasses him in front of Patrick, who tells Penny to stay away from him. Gumball tries his best to earn Patrick's respect, but several times he messes up and even causes Patrick to crash into a policeman's vehicle. After all of this, Penny visits Gumball at his house without her dad knowing, but Tobias ruins everything by challenging Gumball to a nightly duel. While all of this is happening, Patrick is looking for Penny and finds her at Gumball's house. While Penny tries to stop the two from fighting, she's thrown aside onto the road by Tobias. Gumball notices that if someone doesn't save her, she will get hit and attempts to sacrifice himself, but both Penny and Gumball end up safe, and Gumball finally earns Patrick's trust. This isn't where trouble with Penny and her family ends though. In the shell, Gumball and Penny are acting out a scene in Beauty and the Beast. This ends in Gumball getting nervous and accidentally headbutting her, which cracks her shell. She tells Gumball that her real love is under the shell, but her family will never let anyone know what's under their shells. Later that night, Penny visits Gumball and tells her that her dad is moving her to a different school, but Gumball argues that she should have shown her true form, which she revealed to him. He looks at her in awe, which she takes negatively, transforming into a gremlin and running away. Gumball chases after her to tell her what he really thinks of her new look, but she continues to evade him while just declaring how ugly she thinks she is. During the chase, Penny runs into her dad, who calls her a monster. She transforms into a dragon and flies away, but is caught by Gumball, who uses her dad's car hood as a catapult. The chase continues until he finds her in the woods as a wolf. She tells him that she didn't know if she could love her as she is, which he does, returning back into her original form. After an event like this, you'd think Gumball would choose to live happy ever after, but knowing Gumball, it's just not true. But the plot starts to really thicken for Gumball's lore when he's introduced to his arch nemesis, Rob. Most of you would think that Rob was the evil one, but actually Gumball was the one who told Rob to be his nemesis in the first place. After escaping from the void, Rob lived in the Watterson house because he knew they were too dumb to find him. They only find him in a secret basement in their house when Gumball and Darwin get blamed for things going missing in the house. They decide since Rob is a nobody, he should become the bad guy since he resembles that they were ones who left him when he was in the void in the first place. From this point on, Rob has several encounters with Gumball, which range anywhere from stealing $1 million and an exploding bus, with Gumball in it, to having a nemesis break up with Gumball, who begs for him to come back as his nemesis. Even though at the start, Rob and Gumball's rivalry is mostly inconsequential, things turn out to be more serious than you would have thought in the Inquisition. Elmore Junior High's superintendent is planning on taking a visit to the school, which puts Principal Brown in a panic. It's no surprise why Principal Brown is shocked though, when we find out that this superintendent is a live-action human character named Superintendent Evil, whose main goal is to make the school less weird and more normal. Once they finally catch up to him, Evil is revealed to have been Rob, Gumball's nemesis, the entire time. Gumball just assumes that this is Rob being Rob again, but he tries to explain that he's trying to help them escape somewhere else because something really bad is about to happen to Elmore. None of them believe what he has to say, rightfully so, and Tina, the T-Rex, knocks him out with his tail. After he wakes up, he's angry that no one wanted to listen to him, before the ground beneath him begins to break apart, revealing the void, which Rob falls into, marking the end of the episode. You might think after this we got some epic part 2, where the world is ending or something, but really the opposite of that happened. In the new series, The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, the incident isn't mentioned once for 39 entire episodes. Most people assume that what happened to Rob and the rest of Elmore was changed and nothing ever happened, but in the rewrite, we finally get to learn the truth about Elmore's despise. It turns out that the one who saved everyone from certain doom was the owner of the Awesome Store, the Shady Man, using a laptop that can edit real-world events in the show by changing the script. He was able to undo Rob's death, as well as save Elmore. However, in doing this, he left many plot holes that Gumball begins to notice. Shady Man tells Rob that if Gumball and Darwin find out what's going on, everyone in Elmore will fall into the void again. Figuring something must be off, Gumball decides to go back and look for Rob while the Shady Man tries to change the script and keep them off his tail. In doing this, the Shady Man makes several typos, causing Hector to lick a school bus instead of kick it, or when Gumball and Darwin get closer to him, turning them into a horrifying monster. Behind the scenes, Rob is really trying to take the laptop from the Shady Man so that he can fix the plot holes without making the same mistakes. Rob decides that to fix the plot hole, he must embrace his role as the villain of Gumball's story, using his butt. Gumball finds the source of the plot holes, which is Rob, who has a new set of armor and a cosmetic hat that he tries to use to warp reality and destroy Gumball. Rob chases the two to the school before Gumball grabs an axe and tries to kill Rob with it, before the script is edited for being too violent, leaving Gumball with a baguette and Rob wearing cardboard and a pasta strainer on his head. Gumball tries to help out Rob, but he throws himself into the void, leading Gumball and Darwin to believe that he's gone for good. But when they aren't looking, he escapes and is promoted to the owner of the Awesome Store. Well, that's Gumball's entire story. If I missed anything, make sure to comment it down below. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe and click the video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it.